Clarke, what happened?
It was just a desperately bad performance, wasn't it? Newcastle were superior in every way. They look sharper, fitter, hungrier. It's hard to explain. I think sometimes when you start a match poorly, and Arsenal did, it can be quite difficult to turn things around. When you look at them over the last couple of games, they've looked lethargic, they've looked jaded. Mentally, they haven't looked ready for the big atmospheres. Two huge, great noise, wasn't there, at St James's Park? Yeah. Same at the Tottenham Stadium. It just seemed a couple of games too far for this sort of stretched, slimmed down squad. And I think when you look at the big picture, you have to look at January and say that Arsenal rolled the dice and they've paid the price. They hoped to avoid injuries, they hoped to avoid suspensions. It didn't happen. And this young team couldn't quite maintain it.
I was going to say though, Clarke, I'm looking for positives here, and I think Arsenal fans should look for positives. Really poor performance against Spurs, I get that. I felt for them a little bit because I felt last night they were kind of overpowered by this kind of monsoon or this tidal wave that is Newcastle and will continue into next season. So I think that could have happened to anybody. But trying to look positive, and there are plenty of them. He has got some great young players, Mikel Arteta, coming through at Arsenal, and given the right encouragement and the right coaching, if they keep all these players together, surely there is a little bit of hope for the future, or sort of a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, they're on an upward curve, aren't they? They've got more points than last season. The young players are developing, they're improving, they're into fifth. So I thought fifth was about par. This season for Arsenal. There are people saying, Arsenal would have, bitten your arm off for fifth place. I didn't see it that way, if I'm honest. I thought this team were capable of getting here. Fourth would have been a slight overachievement. There were loads of good players. They just couldn't get on the ball, could they, in this game? I looked at it. I think Smith Rowe made 8 passes in the game. Ødegaard, by half time, I think he'd had 7. Ødegaard's the one where you want him on the ball all the time, but Arsenal had no platform in the game, and they couldn't get the ball to their better players. So it was poor. What they need to do, Ali, is deal with setbacks better. Yeah. That's the problem. They are, and it comes with maturity, doesn't it? You get disappointments in football. I'm going to read out Arsenal's record from 1-0 down. Okay, this season from 1-0 down, 1-1, drawn none, lost 10. Scored 3.
Wow.
In 27. Only Watford and Norwich have got a worse return when they concede first. So that is a huge thing for Arteta and the team to work on. Just changing that mindset. So, and we know they're good enough. We know they've got talent, but mentally, when things don't go for them, they've struggled to turn it around. Those stats speak for themselves, really.
I got to say, yesterday we were speaking about this, and what made me really nervous was when it was in Arsenal's hands, because we had those 3 games in a row where, what was it, Brighton, Palace, I can't remember the other one now. 3 games in a row where we lost, basically, and it was in our hands then. And then when you didn't expect them to win, they reel off 3 or 4 games in a row against much more superior opposition. So it's almost the mental, for me, it's like the mental side of it being in their hands is what they struggle with. And you're right, perhaps that comes with more experience. We've got to pay credit to Newcastle, because you know what? This in the Premier League, you can lose to anyone, which is why we love it so much and what makes it such a competitive and compelling league. But this Newcastle side are on the up, and they had some of their best players back in, and they all looked like they wanted it so much more.
They were superb. They really were. I suggested a few weeks ago that Eddie Howe should be on the shortlist for Manager of the Year, and on the podcast, I kind of got laughed at. But I mean it, because they were bottom when he took over, and they were playing horrible football, really. No one wanted the ball. And look at them last night. They all wanted the ball. They were playing so confidently. Yeah, they've signed new players, better players, but not all of them. And I think that he's transformed them. Think how good they'll be in a year.
I know, it's
That's
terrifying.
That is the terrifying thing for Arsenal and the others.
You mentioned that he's brought 1 or 2 in, but the performances, generally speaking, I want to talk to you about Joe Linton for a kick-off. The improvement in Joe Linton is I can't remember an improvement like it in a professional
It's
football
trust.
player. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is, mate. St Maximin had a period, I thought for 15 minutes he was unplayable. I mean, Dan Burn looks a great signing. Bruno Gomes looks a great signing. So Newcastle thoroughly deserve, what's coming their way and what came their way last night.
Definitely, yeah, they're on the march, aren't they? You can see from the atmosphere. I know that they've sort of whooped it up a little bit with all the flags and whatnot, but everyone's happy. They want to go to the games, and that's only going to intensify as they get better and better. Yeah, Joe Linton, others been given trust to get on the ball and make things happen. I think for the goal last night, I've got to say, Cedric, it was a basic error on his part to sort of leave his right back post to go and close down St Maximin. And just leave it open for Joel Linton to run into. That was poor, and he had to block off that pass. But yeah, let's praise Newcastle. They were fantastic, and Arsenal are going to have to bring in some more players and some good players just to keep pace. I think next year, because United will be better, Newcastle will be a lot better, and those guys aren't in the top 4, so it's going to be more of a top 7, more of a top 8, isn't it? And so the lesson I think to be learned is that this squad needs to be deeper. The fringe, too many guys that about 3 or 4 months ago weren't remotely in Mikel Arteta's thoughts were relied upon to get over the line. And as it turned out, it looks like they weren't quite up to that task. But yeah, I'm sure they'll address it this summer and come back stronger. But right in the here and now, I feel so disappointed. Yeah. It really does, from an Arsenal perspective.
Adrian, we can always rely on you to be a level-headed voice of reason. Thank you very much for coming on and
cheers,
giving us your insight.
No worries. Have a good day.
You too, mate. Adrian Clarke there, former Arsenal player.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.